first artist talk of the day, I'll introduce Cori Derickson. Cori Derickson is an interdisciplinary Syilx artist. She has studied at the Enochkin Centre and completed her Bachelor of Fine Arts degree and Master of Arts degree at UBC Okanagan. She published her book, Stitema 13, Grandmother Moons, from graduate work following in the footsteps of her great-great-grandmother, Mourning Dove, the first published Native American of North America. Her works are inspired by Syilx, Okanagan, Indigenous traditional family knowledge, and history. Her interdisciplinary practice includes the dance, sculpture, music, song, writing, animation, and production of multimedia work. Cori has performed her beautiful, artistic, and spiritually moving dances both locally and internationally. Most recently, she has performed her songs with the Okanagan Symphony Orchestra for the first time since pre-pandemic, where she curated the collaboration between Timic's spirit chief names of animal people. Cori currently teaches at Okanagan College and at Enochkin Centre. This summer, watch for her collaborative show with Kama Collective entitled Syilx Ways of Knowing, Silkwat at Vernon Public Art Gallery. Please join me in welcoming Cori.
Is that okay like this, or maybe I will do the, sorry, can I just get some check here? I'm nervous here. Let's just put it full screen. There we go. Okay, I'm going to come out of the podium. I just really don't like podium. Can you hear me well? Yeah. Okay, great.
No, not that one.
No, not great. No. Not great? Great, yes. There, I can hear myself too. I don't know where to sit here. Yeah, I'll just be out here because I thought podiums are for, I don't know, politicians. It kind of makes sense, hey? So I'm Cori Derickson. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. Mostly my time has been taken up being a performance artist because I love performing. I'm a song keeper from a multi-generational family lineage that goes past my great-grandma. So some of the songs I carry are from generations and generations past. And now my grandchildren are singers as well. So I think my mom, Delphine Derickson, Dr. Jeanette Armstrong, which many of you probably know, and my family for that. So yeah, let's just share some screens here. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the committee and everyone inviting me, Tanya. I haven't been back very much since 2018. So, oh, and my nails have to work, or something has to work here.
I'll look bouncing for you, Cori.
Okay, this was supposed to work. Okay, so that's me, Syilx performance artist. I like to indigenize places and decolonize places, which is hard work. We've been doing that, Mariel and I she knows, at the university in our undergrad and grad studies, and it's a full-time job and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And that particular picture, I was on my way to the Grand for lunch to meet some tourism people, to become a tourism contractor, and I thought, well, should I go in braids and my ribbon skirt and, you know, my Indigenous hat, and will they kick me out? Because in the past we were kicked out of those places. And, you know, maybe we were invited in but didn't get great service too. But it went over well. So next slide. I have become an Eagle dancer since 2010-11. I had an unfortunate incident in my family where I lost my son, who was 18 years old, to a bull riding accident. And he showed up along with his cousin, who passed away a month before that, as an eagle spirit every day for a year. So that kind of inspired me to do this work. So I've eagle danced in different places. This was great. I've eagle danced in different places. The one picture is the center picture, actually. Victoria, my cousin Victoria, will be here later on in studio. She took that photo of myself at a Penticton festival. The one on the left, I was dancing at the Museum of Anthropology along with other huge dance groups. I was the only dancer from the Okanagan Interior Salish, but the Coast Salish, of course, you know, they have huge dance groups. So I felt really alone, but it was really such an honor to dance amongst the beautiful totem poles at Museum of Anthropology. And the one on the right is at a West Bank festival, Stakwinut, otherwise known as Stakwinut, Windy Bay, which our elders call it, where I live. Next slide, please. And that was one of the messages when I traveled to Peru. I was talking to some of the staff, and my drum bag is from Peru. So I had one of the things I did before coming to UBC in my undergrad. I did my first 2 years at Inauken. Was to travel to Peru, and in ceremony I was told by my son in spirit to keep dancing, and they only let me see him for a few minutes, and I said, you know, before you go, what's one thing Mom needs to know? And he said, keep dancing, Mom, keep dancing. And I was like, yeah. You know what? Our people moved until they were elders in this still community. Our nation, we dance winter. That's our winter ceremonies, we dance. And elders, right from babies to elders, dance all winter long in ceremonies. And those are our times. And it's not only ceremonial, but it's practical. That's our way of being. That's to become healthy. And when you dance, you become alive and you connect. That's my connection as an artist, as a mom, to spirit, to my son, to Mother Earth, and to everything that we call to me, all living things. And so this is on the left is me dancing at our annual Sia Powa at Stakwinut, which is next month. So you're all invited, come over and join us as we celebrate a Sia. We call it Sia because it's one of our chief foods, and our Powa is always in June when our Sia berry or Saskatoon are ready and plentiful in our community. So come out to that. And on the right is, I think it was the Indigenous Art Intensive when we were still here, wasn't it, Miriam? 2018? Yeah, and that was a salmon dance I was doing. So I start out as the salmon embryo in the egg state. So I use this huge shawl, and then I emerge. So it's a cool dance. It had different things attached to that. In that dance, I did some hoop dancing that I studied under Dallas Arcan and some other things. And I chose to use the traditional hoops that were made out of willow. So that was fun. Next slide. So in my work, I was awarded Top 40 Over 40. This is a newspaper article with me and some kind of more of a modern picture with my eagle cape on. As I was between my grad and undergrad, I was working at Summerhill Winery and set up a art studio, gift shop, gallery. So, and the artwork is there pictured with me is my cousin Janine Lott's gourds. Next slide. And I think I'm one of the few Indigenous people that, just wanted to, infiltrate the Kelowna kind of scene of, can this happen? Would they choose an Indigenous woman? And they did, so that was great. So it's hard sometimes trying to, what we call, I'm a horsewoman. I go back to childhood of being on a horse before I could walk. Thankfully I survived. As you know, there's a lot, nowadays there's so much, but this is our way of being on horseback. My mom was on horseback when she was in a baby board, so we always say it's breaking trail. So we're, as artists, as Indigenous women, I'm breaking trail for the younger ones that come after me. And just like my Stimtima, this is my Stimtima. She broke trail for me, and I'm still following some of her trails and her journey. She is my paternal, great grandmother on my mother's side. These are her two pictures on both sides of my mother and I. So she's the first published Native author. She published Coyote Stories and Kukswia later on. So I have used her work, and the Chaptik stories are our traditional stories that she recorded while she was working and documented those. And so I'm very grateful I use the Chaptik and in my work, and I have published my work in honor of her called Stimtima 13 Grandmother Moons. My mother's mother passed away when she was a young girl, like a 4 or 5, so this was the maternal side of the family that I came to know later on, and my actual native name, Smookmooktalks, that my mom gave me when I was 25 is actually Mourning Dove's grandmother. So I feel very connected, and within my grad and undergrad, I was given work to do, it felt like, from the spirit world, because our ancestors are always watching us and always, cheering for us, even though we may not, hear them, but in ways they're there, and it was amazing, the work that I was bestowed to keep going with some work inspired from Mourning Dove. And she can be found on the internet as Christine Quintasket. And she was, our family lineage goes on that side of the family into the Colville across the border, where I was accepted as a PhD candidate, where I wanted to just travel to the lands of my mother's family on the maternal side, where, the old saying, wisdom sets in places, just to immerse myself in that territory and walk the lands and connect. And this year I had the opportunity, next slide, to dig camas with my granddaunt here, my mother's sister, and she is 91 now. So this is part of my graduate work. It's called Tukumintum, which means and Putanantim Ti and Juntit. So tracing the sacred feminine blood memory of my inherited lineage on my mother's side. So we took some photos, and it was just making because I love photography as well, so it was tracing my lineage to Mourning Dove through my mom and my aunt, my cousins. So we did these pictures. And she was actually there with my mom this past spring, and my cousin digging camas, and she's 91. So it's amazing. Her name is Hazel Squatkin, and she had been a chief for 10 years, and she does a lot of work for the nation still. Next slide. So there's Sinkalip. None of us could talk about our work without Sinkalip, because he's our main character in all of our stories, so we always learn from the Chaptik what to do and what not to do. And also, you know, the fun part of life, because Coyote is a trickster. In my undergrad, I did some coyote clowning, even though I wasn't able to, I don't know, I should just say this again. Now that I've graduated, Mariel was in my clowning class too. I wasn't allowed to do my coyote clowning, quote, in the clowning class at UBC, which I was really sad about, because it should be, you know, some of our work that we're going to do anyways when we grad should be allowed in our classes. So we, at the time we had, I couldn't decolonize my professor as much, but but now I could really do this. So
Talk about it at least.
yeah, that's a total other story, but we won't go into that. You can talk to me later, maybe over tea. But yeah,
I
so.
love it here.
Sinkalip Tumpula Chaptik means this is Sinkalip's land. Next slide. Oh yeah, Sinkalip showed up all the way in South America. So Sinkalip transforms and travels. His spirit is amazing. This is me in my grad. This is my grad poster at the time, doing Kukswia ×4. My grandaunt slash Stimtima, Morning Dove, she wrote the book Kukswia, and it was one of our favorite plays our family has done, from puppet shows and different things. My mom always played Snina, the owl woman. She's always ooh, 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 ooh. So I think I get some of my performance theatrical stuff from my mother. She's an amazing lady, but anyways, Kukswia is a chipmunk and owl woman story. So I developed this one woman play, playing all characters. So it's pretty cool. I will be doing that show again for the first time in a while at Seattle, which is the day after Sia at Staquinut next month. So watch for that. Along with Earl Lambert, if anyone knows Earl Lambert, he'll be doing Dallas Arcana. We have a great lineup next month at Staquinut, so come out for that. And next slide. This is my publication, Stimtima, 13 Grandmother Moons. And there's some of the photos of, one of my favorite photos of Morning Dove. My cousin is on the right-hand side, Marlene, and she's my Aunt Hazel's daughter, myself and Aunt Hazel, and then the far right is my mother, and she chose that particular picture. She was only, I think, maybe 16, she thought, and so she's in her traditional regalia. It's a beautiful picture of her. So, yeah, so I based it on the 13 Grandmother Moons, so it combines with language and some culture and, you know, some of the wisdom of, you know, both sides of the territory, which I'm wearing a shirt that is the recent court case, the Desautels case, because my mother is from the Sinayat as well as my on my paternal side. So that challenges that borderline, as we always have that invisible, illegal borderline that separated our nation and separated in half. So it talks about that. It talks about, you know, my work of the Chaptik, the stories, chapter 5. In my regular thesis, it is in both languages, but in this particular print at the moment, until I get it reprinted possibly, is chapter 5 is only in English, but I also challenged that in my thesis to be able to use our traditional language, our Nasiljan language, because we are bilingual and because my family are fluent speakers and teachers. So next slide. So, and that's available on Amazon if anyone wants the book. And I am part of, when I have time to do art, besides performance art, I am involved with the Kama Creative Collective, which is, we call it more of the northern stronghold of the artists, but we are having some of the southern artists join us from Osoyoos. I think, Taylor, you had submitted something before, and one of the other artists, which is great because before all we had was more of a southern collective that we didn't really get a chance to join. So I teamed up with Sheldon Lewis, and Sheldon's been really busy, so he's been leaving some of the organization to myself. So it's been fun. We've done a lot of different shows. So this one was last year's show to next. So we are all one. And this year's show was announced, so come out to that. It starts in July at the Vernon Art Gallery, which is going to be great. This particular painting is Nachachet, so it's kind of my exploration. I call it just little stamps of, even though it's kind of 11 by 14, I just call them stamps because I actually like working in the big canvas. So Nachachet, if anyone doesn't know, is our sacred being of the lake, otherwise known to the non-Indigenous as Ogopogo. So, yeah, so just wanting to, through my art, talk about that, decolonizing Nachachet as well, because he's not, this little toy or, that stuffy that people, buy at tourist centers. Has more respect in the seal culture than that. So, next slide. Yeah, so that's some more of my artwork in a row I did for last year. That's the middle picture is a big canvas I worked on based on my visit and my visions I had in Peru. And that is a necklace done from one of my prints I did here. Of Chief Joseph, because Chief Joseph was a Nez Perce, from the Nez Perce tribe, which my family is. The lineage traces back from my father's side, and my grandpa always told me some of the war stories, who instilled some of that warrior blood, by telling me those stories. I feel like I, can feel that in myself after listening to the war stories. And the one on the very right is turning some art into fashion. So that is a rawhide dress, and that was a fashion show in Kamloops. And that particular dress traveled in different fashion shows, and it was fun. It was nice to introduce more of traditional wear into fashion. Next slide. This is more some current work that I have been working on. This is the most current one. I think it was just in the winter. And it was called Amplify, and it was curated by the Rose Thompson. She's the, this is with the Symphony, Okanagan Symphony Orchestra. And so, myself and my friend Kethra were connected up by our mutual friend Dallas Arcan. She moved into the territory and she plays the cello, and of course I drum and sing. I play the drums, but I do other instruments as well. But this time we've been working on the last 2 or 3 years to blend the classical and the traditional music together, and so pushing that type of music forward just to try it out. And it's been really cool. It's been a cool journey. So I played in the with the orchestra before, and so I pitched it to Rosemary, and so she invited us to the show. It was quite a little bit controversial because she got fired afterwards, but it wasn't. And I was a little bit worried because well, when you work with the orchestra, from a traditional point of view, we're oral traditions. Like we don't write down our, but we specifically played our music to satisfy the orchestra so that we would play it the same way every time. And I was a little bit worried because of some of the media, how the media was going to spin it. There was only one time they said it was that our music was improv, that we used improvisation or something, and I was like, no. And so they quickly retracted that, so thankfully. And so, but it all worked out. It was an amazing time with some other young, different types of music that the young two musicians played. And Catherine and I have been playing different genres for the last few years. So it's been pretty great. And then we've been invited back to rectify the Okanagan song because it kind of butchered the Okanagan song. But it was okay because we're going to rectify that. And they specifically asked for my mother, who was one of the composers of the song, to come back and redo that. So you know, it's a journey, and it's an experimentation to see, you know, how far you can push the reconciliation and the collaboration and what comes out of it. And sometimes it works, and for most of the part, like 95%, it's been working really well and very cool, and coming out with some great projects. And it's also the Okanagan Symphony Orchestra's wish to diversify and to bring in new ways and attract, you know, the younger crowd, because, you know, it's a lot of seniors that are coming out to the orchestra, symphony orchestra shows. So when they can diversify their music, then they're going to attract more people out, and we all grow, right? So it's growing, and even for me. Next slide. These are some other events with Kethra, the Art Alley. So we've done some things for the Met, which helps, you know, really as fundraisers for the homeless. So we're also giving back that way, and it's been really fun. This particular one here with the Art Alley, that picture doesn't show the whole. I must have cut out a bit, or somebody cut out. There's another picture, but we were collaborating and just on the spot with all the other artists at the end, and it was really powerful because we are all one. When it comes to music, like, music is a universal language, and if we can combine that, you know, the music and the beats together, you know, you can make beautiful music. So, which makes a better world, right? And the poster on the end is me doing more interdisciplinary work that was in Vernon. That particular work I did, and I was dancing, and some other artists that went up was Madeline Trebasket. She was one of my students in the past, and then Tanja Joe Hall, who plays Auntie Beatrice. Some of you may or may not know her, so she was really cool, and Dawn Burnstick. And it was funny, Dawn thought I was going up as a comedian. I'm like, no, I'm not a comedian. I'm here as a dancer. So it was a fun time. And next slide. And some other work I've been doing. This is with my dancing, because I do a lot of different types of dancing, not only eagle dancing, but I was invited. This is a Toronto artist, and her name just slips my mind at this time. But it's called Reckless in Aging. She's been coming for the last few years to the Rotary Center of the Arts, so she wanted to just, you know, reconcile again and collaborate with an Indigenous dancer. So I came out the first time, and we did. I think we're holding branches there. You can't really see it so well, but just connecting with nature. So we started inside, and then we walked down to this park, and then we had a musician drumming, and we're connecting to nature. And so I get to lead one of the dances, and it's the public are invited, but there's a group of women who are all kind of in their twilight ages that are there, and so the picture to the left, I was a musician for that one, and so I was drumming, but it was really cool. It's been fun. Next slide. Oh, so this, I think we'll skip that, but let's see. Do I have my tech back there? Oh, okay. Just maybe just a second of that clip. This is the West Kelowna Music Festival. It's on YouTube. It's just me singing not just, it's me singing. You heard me sing just now, so it's basically, so that was the West Kelowna World Music
West
Festival.
Kelowna World Music Festival.
Artist teacher Cori Derickson.
Yeah, so singing the Okanagan song again, which you just heard. Thank you. We can go to the next one. So that was nice, just, performing in my own community of West Kelowna. And that felt good to, be invited as an Indigenous singer. And this is our work going to 2020, just before the pandemic. I think we just, our last performance was the day before the world shut down, which was, so we're really pushing the envelope there, but it was a really fun project and involved my whole family, which I love to do, is involve family and intergenerational performance, as that's our way of being, is, live together, eat together, and perform together. It's even more cool. So because we have such talented elders and children, it's great. So we named it Tamich, which means all living things. And based on the chaptik, again, of Morning Dove, Spirit Chief names the Animal people. And so I was named as the curator, along with Rosemary Thompson, the music director. And we involved the children. It was called the Okanagan Symphony School show. So I involved my daughter, and she's a singer, and my cousin Marlene. So they, were involved in some of the Indigenous schools. We involved 3 different band schools. So from West Bank, Penticton, and Vernon. And it was pretty cool. I think we can go to the... So you'll see my grandson is standing beside me, Elijah. He's been a song carrier as well. And then my daughter is beside him, Cheyenne, and then Marlene, my cousin. And these are children from, I'm not sure which school that was. It might have been OKIB. So we performed, it's just one of the songs, but we performed 2 shows in 3 different towns. So this is the Women's Warrior song. That's why my grandson isn't singing, because it's a women's song.
Coyote's plan was to stay up all night by building a big fire.
So that's my uncle
To be the first
being
one.
the narrator of the story. So it kind of goes from storytelling to along with symphony, musicals, and curated by ourselves, and then singing, and also the children, and some dancing.
About her husband becoming an important chief, as she feared he may go tired of her. Together, they built a fire.
And there's my mom at the other side of my daughter. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one.
sat by the fire and waited for the sunrise.
Do you want to just fast forward that? There's yeah, to there. Whoop, just yeah. So here I'm dancing with as part of the eagle comes out to get to Spirit Chief to get his or her name, and so this is the first time I've ever collaborated with another eagle dancer. So it was pretty cool. And my brother-in-law there singing an eagle song. And the eagle dancer is from the Lillooet territory. And these are on YouTube, so if you want to browse through them at some time, it's called Tanich. Spirit Chief names the animal people. Okay. And this is another project I did along with family. This is the lake opera that we did, and this is called the incantation part of it. So it was based on an old story of an Aboriginal woman and a non-Aboriginal woman meeting together for the first time on Stakwenuut Seal territory, and they have this language barrier. So what we did an exchange of songs, Aboriginal song, where my mom plays the Aboriginal woman, and Heather Pawsey plays the non-Aboriginal woman, and I play the spirit of Nechachait. There's me. So I'm playing Nechachait spirit that touches kind of all of them and spreads this spirit around within this part of the opera. Because in the story, it was an old story that the non-native Indigenous woman sees Nechachait from what we call sunny side and tries to communicate that to the Aboriginal woman, which is it's a real story. So that's what the opera is based on. And actually, my Aunt Jeanette gave me that shawl particularly for this performance. So. night show, and we performed this also in the afternoon, which was Blistering Hot. This was at Quails Gate Winery. Just listen to a bit of my mom's song here. This is the Nachahid song. My mom is so beautiful. She's such a good singer. Love this part. Okay, thank you. And again, this is on YouTube as well, so you can look up the title of Nachahid, the opera. And the opera, this project has just, I was teasing Heather Pawsey because this project just went on and on and on. It's a good example of a project that can continue and take many shapes or forms. We also did during the pandemic a high tea in Peachland with sponsored by Peachland Watershed Alliance. And so they asked Heather and my mom to come back and sing that part that you just did, and I came back to dance. And then this was a film festival, so we actually made a film documenting the opera and the story. So that was just a recent project, and that kind of took my mom to Toronto and to Vancouver, and they had a big film premiere here at the big theater across the lake, and we filmed this down at parts of this down at Quails Gate Winery down at the bottom of the lake. So it was just another way that this project kept going and taking new life, and and they also did interviews of all of us and such. Thank you. Next slide. And then we also did a sculpture. So myself and Abby Marchand, who's a sculpture artist, I did the design work and she did the metal work. She's a welder from OKIB. And so that's in the background is the sculpture that's at Quails Gate Winery, and it's based upon the story and the opera that my mom and Heather Pawsey took part in. So that was just another part of that project that came to life from the opera. And they literally, it was a surprise to them when we unveiled it at Quails Gate Winery. They had no idea that it was going to be based, the sculpture was going to be based on the two of them. And they were both in such tears. And it was just another great moment, for this project. So you can visit that sculpture at Quails Gate Winery on the west side. And just another interesting part of this whole project was when I was born as a baby, we lived in a small cabin on not far on the grounds where Quails Gate Winery is, like not far from the cabin that sits at Quails Gate Winery that was built by my father's grandmothers, the McDougals. They were log builders. You can look up some of their history in Kelowna. They go way back as, buildings. Some of their buildings are down at Father Pandozzi. And so it all has this full circle loop when we were doing this project. And I was like, wow, I'm actually invited back here and doing this art and involved in sculpture. And it's, and here I was born, or not born, but brought back to as a baby that lived there when I was so it was all very, it was all very just mystical. Thank you. We'll keep going. And so this is some more dancing pictures. When I first started eagle dancing and I wasn't using eagle feathers, and then I've transformed to actual eagle feathers. So there's a few different. The one at the center there is when I first danced and got invited to dance with the Toronto dance artists. And the one up above is doing the salmon dance and teaching dance in City Park with some other cool dancers. And the one below with the big, that's Okanagan Indigenous Music Festival, doing the salmon dance. The one where there's a lot of people, that was in France. So I was invited to France to dance. Flew into Paris and took the train out to the country. So I found myself in the French countryside dancing and teaching and doing stories with people from all over the world. It was amazing. And then the top right, that was me dancing in Peru. And the bottom was Penticton again. Oh, and the Ogopogo dance, I think that was West Bank, Stocking. So when I first started, I didn't think I would, dance in all these places, but I just go with spirit, and it's just beautiful. I want to say too that there's a dancer in the Shuswap, Ernie Phillips. I was a child when I first saw him dance, and I said to my mom, he was dancing at the Penticton powwow, and I ran up to my mom and I'm like, Mom, he turned into a real eagle. That's what I thought. He turned into a real, and maybe he did. Maybe I saw his eagle spirit, and I want to acknowledge him for giving me that inspiration to dance, and he has danced all over the world as well. Next slide. And I just like to, transfer, my knowledge and performance as much as I can to the younger generation. So this is my oldest grandson, Elijah, and the youngest grandson is singing as well. Sorry, that I kind of messed up that one picture. But we did the Fat Cat Festival a couple times, and then he's also performed with Catherine and I. And he's actually performed opening for Crystal Shawanda in West Bank. So he's done a lot. So, and then he's worked with us in the symphony. So that's always important too, because I'm not going to be here forever. We have to pass on our knowledge and skills to the younger generations. And next slide. And my work is informed by my language, by my being Syilx, and the land, because without it, I wouldn't be who I am. I had the pleasure of growing up on ranch property and having access to my mother's side of the family who lived in the mountains and I will say off the grid. But my grandparents lived off the grid till I was 15, but it wasn't really off the grid. It was just living with the land, Now it's a popular way of calling it or label off the grid, but it was traditionally. So this is a picture of the Monashee Mountains. Has anyone have ever hiked or loved to hike? I would recommend the Monashees. These are the pinnacles in the basin of the Monashees, and which I had gone back to visit 2021 or 22 because I hadn't been there for a while, and everything had grown up so much. And we had hiked up to the base of those pinnacles that you can see. There's a beautiful waterfall up there. There's lots of hiking trails, but very steep terrain. But we had gone up there when I was 19 to the base of the pinnacles. Got dropped off there, no cell phones. That was the no cell phone days for 3 or 4 nights, and just camped with the grizzlies. And I continued to take my children there. And this goes to my father's side of the family, where my great-grandpa Christy traveled. Those areas. There's some creeks and rivers named after him. That goes back to my OKIB. We call it White Man's Creek, where my grandma's family lineage comes from. And that is Okanagan Lake, and a picture of Sinpiktin up in the mountains, Snilitin, where some of my mom's family lives and where the wild horses roam. And of course, a picture of with the words of our Okanagan song. Atli Kuswiwi Numta, we are beautiful. Atli Kusukanake, because we are Okanagan. Atli Aha I Timkula, because our land is beautiful. Is that it? That's it. Thank you. Lim Lim.